Ever get this feeling like when it comes to history and stuff, we're only getting like the Spark Notes version, like there's these whole other chapters missing?
You mean like the stuff they don't teach you in school?
Exactly. And today, we are diving into a perfect example of that, the Book of Enoch. We're talking ancient, possibly even predating a lot of the Bible as we know it.
And it's jam-packed with wild stuff.
Mm.
Angels, giants, apocalyptic visions, you name it, it's probably in there.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You sent over some material on this, and wow. Okay, so for anyone just tuning in, we're going deep on the Book of Enoch today. Buckle up.
It's a wild ride.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So let's start basic. Who is Enoch? What makes him important enough to have a whole book, or books even, attributed to him?
Well, if you go by the source material, we're talking seriously Old Testament here. Enoch's supposedly 7th generation from Adam. Yeah. Like, picture this. He could have swapped stories with someone who knew Adam personally.
Whoa. Okay, so we're talking way, way back.
Uh-huh.
But if he's that ancient, why isn't he a household name? Most people probably haven't even heard of him.
Well, he is mentioned in the Bible, but it's easy to miss. Genesis just kind of mentions in passing that Enoch walked with God, and then poof, gone.
Walked with God
Yeah.
and vanished. Okay, now that's how you make an exit. So what are the theories? What happened to him?
That's part of what makes Enoch so intriguing, right? It's all open to interpretation. Some people say God literally took him up to heaven. Others believe he transformed into an angel.
Interesting.
And then there's the idea that his disappearance is symbolic, that he transcended death in a way humans usually don't.
Okay, so already we've got this mysterious figure linked to practically the dawn of time. But then there's these books, right? And they're called apocryphal. What's that all about?
You know how some libraries have those restricted sections? The ones with rare books or maybe a little bit controversial?
Ooh, yeah, I get it. Like hidden knowledge, forbidden stuff.
That's kind of the vibe with apocryphal texts. We're talking writings from around the same time as a lot of the Bible, but they didn't make the cut for the official canon?
So, like the deleted scenes of religious texts. Okay, but what kind of stuff are we talking about with the Book of Enoch specifically? What they leave on the cutting room floor, so to speak?
Oh, just your usual fallen angels, giants, journeys through space, the classics.
Right. So, break it down for us. What are the main parts of this book, and what kind of secrets do they hold?
Well, think of it like a 5-part epic, okay? Each book dives into a different piece of Enoch's supposed visions and experiences.
Okay, I'm hooked. Give us the highlights reel.
All right, so we start with the Book of the Watchers. This is where things get juicy. We meet these angels, called Watchers, who decide they're not too keen on following God's orders anymore. So they head down to Earth, and let's just say things get a lot complicated with the local human population.
Hold up. Angels having children with humans. What was the meaning behind that? What were they trying to say?
That's the thing. It's not just some supernatural love story, right? This idea, it tapped into some deep anxieties of the time. It's about the boundaries between the divine and humanity getting all blurry, the risks of forbidden knowledge, the consequences when you disobey, you know.
Right, right. I mean, if angels, these perfect beings, can fall from grace, what does that say about us?
Exactly. And their kids. These become the Nephilim, often depicted as giants who wreak havoc on Earth. It's a picture of a world gone haywire, where the spiritual and the physical are way too intertwined.
I can see why that would have people freaking out a
Yeah.
little. Yeah. So what happens next in this saga?
Well, buckle up, because we hit the Book of Parables. This one gets pretty symbolic. We're talking visions of judgment, the afterlife, prophecies about a messianic figure. It's like a courtroom drama, cosmic edition, with Enoch as the guy giving us the play-by-play.
Okay, so now we're getting into heavy theological territory here.
Big time. And this is where the Book of Enoch really starts going its own way, offering a different take on things compared to what you might find in the traditional Bible. Some scholars even think this part was written later, maybe even as a response to early Christianity gaining traction.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Like they were adding their 2 cents to the whole end times discussion.
Right, and just when you think you've heard it all, we get to the Book of Astronomical Visions. Enoch goes on this cosmic field trip, describing the stars, this divine calendar, even what you could call a blueprint of heaven itself.
Whoa, like getting to peek behind the curtain of the universe.
Totally. And then there's the Book of Dreams. This one's pretty literal, a collection of symbolic dreams and visions Enoch supposedly had. Lots of animal imagery, numerology, all pointing to historical events and prophecies about the future.
We've gone from angels and giants to star charts and dream interpretation. It's a lot. but I get why this book has fascinated people for so long.
It speaks to something deeper, I think, something beyond just religion or history. And finally, we've got the Epistle of Enoch, which has a section called the Apocalypse of Weeks. It's like a message to future generations, a warning about wickedness, the victory of good, and, Judgment Day. A pretty universal theme when you think about it.
Yeah, for sure. The idea of facing consequences, it's not exactly unique to Enoch, but I guess it's the way it's presented here.
Exactly. That's what's so fascinating. The Apocalypse of Weeks. It lays out this whole timeline of history, broken down into these weeks, each one representing a key era, all building towards this final judgment. History, prophecy, a moral message. It's quite a mix.
No kidding. We've covered so much fallen angels, hidden knowledge, a glimpse of the cosmos. It's easy to see why this book still has the power to, well, kind of blow your mind. It kind of makes you look at those old stories in a whole new light, doesn't it?
It really does. And it's that mix of history, mythology, almost like spiritual adventure that makes it so controversial, even now.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. What are the big sticking points with the Book of Enoch? Why all the fuss?
Well, on one hand, it's offering this whole other narrative to some really core biblical stories. It's not just adding details. We're talking contradictions, expansions, interpretations that some people just weren't ready for.
So it's like the Book of Enoch. It kind of shakes things up for some people's faith.
For some, yeah. It challenges long-held beliefs, doctrines. For others, it's like this valuable piece of tradition that got left out of the main story. Perspective is everything.
It's true. Even with these ancient texts, there's always going to be different ways of reading them, different lenses people are looking through.
Absolutely. And the Book of Enoch's impact, it goes way beyond just religious debates. The themes, the imagery, it pops up everywhere. Art, literature, even pop culture.
Okay, got to give us some examples. What kind of cultural footprint are we talking about?
Think about John Milton's Paradise Lost. Epic poem, right? Lucifer's fall, the war in heaven. He took a lot of inspiration from how the Book of Enoch depicts those fallen angels.
Wow, never made that connection before.
It's there. And the idea that angels have ranks, different jobs, the Nephilim being these terrifying but also kind of tragic figures, that's echoed through history, medieval art, fantasy novels, you name it.
So even if someone isn't into religion, chances are they've encountered ideas with roots in Enoch.
Exactly. It's part of the collective imagination now.
So let's bring this back around to everyone listening. Let's say I'm not trying to rewrite religious doctrine, not about to become an Enoch scholar or anything. Why should I care? What's the takeaway for the average person?
That's the beauty of it. You don't have to subscribe to a specific belief system to find something valuable in the Book of Enoch. It's a snapshot of how people saw the world way back when, their cosmology, their ideas about good and evil, the nature of the divine.
Like a window into the past, how our ancestors thought.
Yes. And the questions they wrestled with about creation, morality, what happens after we die, those haven't gone away, even if our answers have changed.
Makes you realize it's a conversation that's been going on for centuries, and we're all part of it.
Exactly. Plus, the Book of Enoch reminds us that there are always many sides to every story, even the ones we think we know. Challenges us to question, explore, be open to different interpretations.
Love that. The Book of Enoch as a call for intellectual curiosity. This has been such a fascinating dive, seriously. It does make you wonder, though, if this book was so well known back in the day, why didn't it become part of the Bible? What does that tell us about how these texts were chosen? What gets considered sacred? Makes you think. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Huge thanks to our expert for, well, being an expert and guiding us through this. And to everyone listening, keep that curiosity going. We'll be back soon with another deep dive. Until then, explore.